Ladies and gentlemen, please clear the room. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to visit. You just can't do it here.
Mic's not working, Chairman. I don't think she turned you on. Or you're logged in. Can't hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We do have a committee that needs to start immediately. Thank you for your cooperation. Members, please sign in to your microphone. Okay. Members, please sign into your keypad so that we can take the roll. Ready? The House Transportation Committee for March 18th, 2025 is now in session. Members, once again, if you'll please sign in so we can take the roll. Madam Clerk, when we have a quorum, please take the roll. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I'm here.
Members, any personal orders or announcements? Representative Butler, you have an announcement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have my oldest daughter with me today. I've had the other two. So, of course, the oldest one is sitting on the front row in a red jacket. I told her she would not have to give us a speech this morning, but I wanted to recognize her and thank her for coming up here and spending the day with me.
Very good. Welcome. Any others from the members?
Last child.
I don't think I'll have any more.
On a personal note, we have three very special guests with us today in the committee room. Many of you have attended SLC, Southern Legislative Conference, sponsored by the Council of State Governments South, and we have with us the director of the SLC, who is always a wonderful host. If you haven't been to an SLC, you need to sign up and make sure you go. This one is close by, coming up in July, I believe, in Birmingham, and we're thrilled to have Lindsey Gray, who is the director. Please stand so we can recognize you, and we have Katie, and we have Aaron. And these are members of her staff, and we're so glad to have you with us today. You do a great job. I've had the privilege of attending SLC last year at Greenbrier in West Virginia, and it was amazing. So thank you for being here, and thank you for visiting Tennessee. Glad to have you. All right, we'll head to the calendar, and we have 14 items on the calendar currently, but let me take care of a little bit of housekeeping first. House Bill number 1 happens to be my bill, so I'm not going anywhere. We're going to roll it to the heel. And House Bill number 10, House Bill 5, item number 10, House Bill 536 is off notice, which brings us back to item number. Hold on just a moment. If I may, I believe we're going to have to skip around just a tad because we have Chairman Eldridge with us and he has to be in another committee. We're going to go to item number 4, members, without objection, and hear from House Bill 621. Chairman Eldridge, you're recognized, sir.
Eddie. House Bill 621 deals with the motor vehicle warranty protection business here in Tennessee, which they've regulated for about 20 years now. Presently, each warrantor must file registration records with the Department of Commerce and Insurance annually. And also under the present law, they have to notify the department if they make any changes. They have to do that within 30 days. This bill would permit the warrantor to file a renewal without any changes and without making any additional registration filing, but they still are obligated to notify the department of any changes within the 30-day period.
Members, you've heard the explanation from the sponsor. Any questions for the sponsor? Are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, please open the voting board and please cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 0 nays.
The ayes have it. Your bill goes to calendar and rules, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Thank you. We're going back to item number 2 by, I believe, Representative McCalman. Are you carrying that bill?
Sir.
You're recognized, sir, from your chair. We have a motion and a second. And I believe we have an amendment, don't we, Representative?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do.
What is your code?
I believe, Mr. Chairman, that is going to be drafting code 4004.
That's what I have. Have a motion and a second on the amendment. We will place, without objection, we'll place the amendment on the bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Please explain your bill as amended, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, good morning. House Bill 1316. Sorry. Bear with me real quick. They had the House Bill and Senate Bill numbers mixed up. So House Bill 1316 makes a number of changes across state government to reduce red tape, improve government efficiency, and promote workforce entry. First, the legislation eliminates licensure barriers and reforms licensing processes across several occupations and services. Such changes include eliminating the professional soil scientist license and from Commerce and Insurance, creating a new licensure pathway for CPAs, and providing licensing authorities more flexibility to establish reciprocity. I think I've got the wrong talking points here. My apologies.
We all make mistakes.
We do. I need another cup of coffee. Essentially, what this bill does, Mr. Chairman, and just forget everything I just said about that. Happy day after St. Patrick's Day. Essentially, it amends the code to clarify that someone over the age of 18 does not need to be issued a permit for driving before performing a road skills test, as long as they're accompanied by a Department of Safety employee. It amends Tennessee code to be consistent with current practice of operating large RV vehicles in Tennessee. Change these types of vehicles to their intended use instead of gross vehicle weight rating. Change does not create a new class of license. It just does away with connecting a regular Class D license with the gross vehicle weight rating. This will allow for RVs to be driven with a Class D license, which is currently the practice. Lastly, it makes it clear that in state law that someone's personal identification, personal information will not be retained longer than necessary, used for unintended purposes, or sold to a third party. Currently, we do have the authority, this Department of Safety has the authority to issue mobile driver's licenses. However, Tennessee code does not have any provisions to prohibit the retention of this data or prohibit the sale of this data. This proposal will fix that issue. I know there's been some concerns on this, but to be clear, should this bill not pass, we will still have digital IDs in place. We just won't have any protective measures in place to safeguard our personal information. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I know we have members from the Department of Safety here who would like to testify if it would suit the committee, and I would take any questions as well.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Any questions from the committee? Do you have a question, Representative? You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I probably have more of a comment than a question, but I'll try. I know that the state has the ability to do the mobile driver's license. If we do not put these things in place, does it mean that we still have to move forward with the digital driver's license?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, Representative, it would exist whether or not this bill passes. It's just, again, this just puts safeguards in place on the data that is collected and with regards to how long of retention it can for that biometric data. It's not. the licenses to digital IDs are going to exist whether or not this bill passes.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I read the bill, I feel like I understood that it is establishing that a third party that the state is giving a third party the ability to establish the program for this. So I feel like if the bill didn't move forward, we would be saying that we're not authorizing this third party software agency to develop the software or app to utilize the program. Is that?
You're
is that?
recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's not my understanding. I mean, with the digital IDs in place right now, my understanding is that we already have third-party vendors who are verifying the identification. The Department of Safety may be able to speak to that in more detail if that would suit the committee, but that's not my understanding.
Follow up?
Perhaps we should go out of session then and ask Department of Safety.
Without objection, we'll go out of session. Department of Safety is here. Ms. Stroker, good to see you. Please identify yourself for the camera, please.
Elizabeth Stroker, Legislative Director, Assistant General Counsel for the Department of Safety. Could you repeat your question, Representative?
Thank you. My question was that my understanding is that the bill is establishing that the state can authorize a third party to establish the mobile driver's license. We don't have one currently in place. Is that correct?
You're
Is there-
recognized.
So currently we have not launched it. We have already created the app that will be used. We created that internally with the department in consultation with STS under the Department of Finance and Administration. So when we're talking about third parties, we're talking about the third parties that will have that app as an option. So the app was created within the department, within state government, through the state government parameters. The third party will be it could be, your cell phone carrier who you can download any app from, so it's an option for you, or any business that may want to utilize a digital driver's license. But the app itself was created within the department. It has been created.
Okay, that answers my question for right now.
All right.
Thank you.
I see no other questions. Chairman Hawk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Stroker, just to get it on the record, I've had several constituents asking for this to be created. So it is something that a few folks are asking about. In that same vein, there's nothing required of this at all. It is still a permissive piece of legislation. The aspect we're talking about, the on your phone, the driver's license on your phone, that there's no mandate to do this. Is that accurate?
You're recognized.
Yes, Chairman. So it's optional if you want to use a digital license. It's optional if a business wants to use a digital license. And we have said that businesses cannot mandate a digital license. So it is 100% optional. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else on the list. Just for clarity, if I may, Representative McCalman, this bill also clarifies that the digital ID cannot be used for voting ID purposes. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Okay, very good. Another follow-up, Representative?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am absolutely for restricting digital licenses for the purpose of voting. My concern is that we are somewhat going down a slippery slope. I know this is voluntary, and I think voluntary is always great, but in the case of voluntary, something like this, if we can look back at other examples of things that have been voluntary, maybe in the free market, but I think this could apply to the state. Let's just thinking about how analog phones we used to be able to get. Well, then when smartphones came out, this is a market issue, but I'm just trying to make a general comparison that as smartphones became more popular, we can no longer get analog phones. So I guess the concern for a lot of people who've reached out and are concerned about this state moving forward in the collection of biometric data is at some point it will become a requirement. And with digital IDs or biometric data, there's not 100% way to secure the information. We cannot guarantee there will never be a privacy breach. As I mentioned previously in the subcommittee, in I think it was 2016, 21 million federal employees had their fingerprints stolen out of the OPM database. And so once we go down the pathway of collecting this data, although we can instruct a third party to not hold that, even though it's a short period of time. 3 days is still plenty of time for someone who has a, sinister reason to collect that data or to try to steal it. They would still have the opportunity to do that. So I think that is the concern that I've heard from constituents, that while this is voluntary, at some point down the road, as it becomes popular, it could be restrictive, where this is the only opportunity that you have for a driver's license. And then that, because that could become that, we have the issue of biometric data not being able to be secured properly, and that we cannot replace biometric data. You can easily get a new driver's license or a new social security card if you misplace it. If you were to lose your physical driver's license, it can only be used once. But if someone steals your mobile digital driver's license or is able to replicate that in some way, that can be used in multiple places at multiple times by someone who would be clever enough to figure out how to do that. So just for the record, I'm not going to support the bill, just because I think the state going down this pathway presents problems down the road, even though I understand that it is voluntary and that we're restricting it from it being used for election purposes. I understand why those things are necessary, but I'm on the philosophical grounds that I don't believe the state should be moving down this pathway. I'm not going to be able to vote for the bill.
Ms. Stroker, would you like to respond?
Yes, and again, Representative, we fully respect where you're coming from, of course. And I do want to point out that the General Assembly would have to mandate it if it were to ever become mandatory. That's not something the department could do on their own. It would have to come through this body to be approved to be mandatory. And then regarding data breaches are a concern for all state agencies with any information that they may house of citizens. And there is a plethora of laws within the Tennessee Code that I'd be happy to send to you, but dealing with data breaches relative to data breaches within the state specifically, any punitive actions, remedial actions that can be taken. So those parameters are already in place for current databases if there were to be a breach. And then there was one other comment you had, and now I cannot remember what I was going to say, but we respect where you're coming from, of course, and we just hope that we feel confident we have put as many safeguards in place as we possibly can for those who want to utilize this.
Representative Sherrill.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick question. How many states is already doing this, that has this in practice?
You're
Do you
right,
know?
okay.
I believe it's about 10. It really picked up about two or 3 years ago, and more states are about ready where they're going to look at launching as well.
Thank you.
No more questions. We'll go back into session. Thank you, our guest, for coming and testifying. We're back into session. And any further questions for the sponsor of this bill? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Please open the voting board, clerk. All in favor vote yes. All opposed vote no. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 ayes, 3 nays.
Ayes have it. The bill goes to calendar and rules. Thank you, sir. That will bring us to item number 3, House Bill 1129. But Chairman Farmer, you're just in time, sir. You're
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
recognized.
Committee, evidently I can't count. I thought I was 4, but I'm 3. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I do have, and members, I have an amendment on this bill as well. I'd like to put on.
We have a motion. What is your code?
It's 4943, Mr. Chair.
Yes, that's what I have. I have a motion and a second on the amendment. Would you like to put it on and then talk about the bill?
It rewrites the bill.
Okay,
members.
all in favor of adding the amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The amendment's on the bill. Please explain the bill as amended.
All right, thank you so much. Members, what this does, the reason I have an amendment, I was working with TDOT and TDEC on this. What this bill does, it's designed to ensure that our current borrow pits are able to continue to provide the materials to rebuild our roads and our towns from the impacts of Hurricane Helene. And this legislation has a sunset of June 30th, 2039. So it's temporary in nature. It's just a rifle shot, belts and suspenders to be sure that our borrow pits that are currently in operation can continue to supply those materials to the folks that need them.
All right, you've heard the explanation. Any questions for the sponsor? Chairman Todd.
I just have one. Currently, what kind of concerns are being expressed about borrow pits? I guess I'm trying to establish where the problem is. I'm not familiar, or may not be familiar, so I'd love to hear what the background is.
You reckon that?
And thank you, Mr. Chair and Chairman Todd. I appreciate the question. And this is really more of a belts and suspenders approach here. I just want to ensure that we've taken all the appropriate measures to see that we maintain the posture to where our current borrow pits, our quarries, they're providing rock, they're currently licensed and in place, can continue to provide that, and that we won't see anyone get in the way of them providing the material for the folks that need them. So this is really more of a belts and suspenders approach, proactive.
Follow up?
Just one. So is this primarily a concern with TDEC and their regulations, or is there something else?
You recognize?
No, Representative Todd, or excuse me, Chairman Todd, this is something that I thought we needed. This wasn't something that was brought to me from TDEC or TDOT. The reason I worked with them, because of some of the things that we were looking at protecting, they were concerned that on road match funding, federal government funding, FEMA funding from the federal government, that what I was doing wasn't going to affect those dollars that could come to our local communities. But I was looking at the statute, and I thought, considering the time we're going through and all the materials that we're going to need, we want those materials coming from Tennessee and other states. So just want to ensure that, like I said, the current borrow pits that are currently in place, the materials that we're taking from the ground and putting those to other places to rebuild our roads in our communities are coming from Tennessee. And I've had no opposition to this whatsoever. Like I said, it's a rifle shot. It's very, very narrowly tailored.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote. Please open the voting board, Madam Clerk. All in favor vote yes. All opposed vote no. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 0 nays.
The ayes have it. Your bill goes to finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. That brings us to item number 5. We've already heard item number 4. Representative Kiesling, you're up. House Bill 2624, you're recognized. We have a motion, and I thought I heard a second.
I hope you did. Yes, sir. Chairman, are we ready to go, Chairman? This House Bill 624 is relative to the registration and licensing of motor vehicles. Now, those of you who were in sub last week, please don't, the bullet points remain pretty much the same. The legislation, the intent of this, of course, is to modify the existing law that permits a standard service charge to ensure that our clerks' offices across the state are allowed to keep up with the rising cost of shipping and handling fees, and we know that very well. In 23, the General Assembly passed legislation that would effectively create an index for county clerks to adjust the fees collected for processing mail orders of our license plates and their decals, of course, contingent upon the price of the U.S. postage service or postal service. However, our county clerks have found it very difficult to apply such rates increases because of the lack of uniformity within the USPS. This legislation seeks to authorize a clerk's office the ability to increase the fee for handling these orders, both plates as well as their decals. And it would, when it comes to the license plates, these orders would move from $5 to $7 for a renewal. And when it comes to decals, from $1 to $2 to $3 processing. Most importantly is the bill is permissive. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will entertain any questions.
Okay, you've heard the explanation, members. Any questions for the sponsor? Representative Towns.
Because I'm smart. I'm being bullied down here. You need to deal with this.
We're watching you.
All right.
We're watching
You
you.
need to deal with Joe Frazier. I'm sick of Joe Frazier picking on me. I'm Muhammad Ali. You settle down. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Is this statewide, number one?
Yes, it is.
And how
Yes,
much money
Mr.
are we talking about it may generate?
I'm sorry.
How much money do you think it'll generate?
The fiscal note
again, it's permissive, but I don't know if you all have the the fiscal note or not. Fiscal year 25, 26, it says 1.9. 20 fiscal years 26 and 7, just over 2 million.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Are we ready to vote? Please open the voting board, Madam Clerk. Please cast your vote. Anyone wish to change their vote? Has every member voted? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 0 nays.
The ayes have it. Your bill goes to Finance.
Finance. Thank you, Chairman. Members.
Representative Martin, you're number 6, House Bill 307. I have a motion and a second. And I don't believe you have an amendment, so please explain your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. House Bill 302 seeks to bolster the safety and efficiency of Tennessee roads. It's currently a traffic violation for anyone to impede the flow of traffic by stopping or parking their vehicle on a street or a highway. This bill goes one step further. If the vehicle is stopped for the purpose of soliciting employment, the violator would receive a Class C misdemeanor. And if a subsequent violation is the cause of an accident, the violator would receive a Class B misdemeanor. Employment transactions are more appropriately served in the place of business. The intent of this legislation is to disincentivize this kind of activity on public roads and to help reduce things like traffic congestion and EMS response time. This legislation does not impact employment solicitations on private property or on parking lots. And with that, Mr. Chairman of the committee, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any questions for sponsor? Representative Harris.
Thank you, Chairman. Sponsor, can you give me an example of how this has happened or what may have triggered this legislation?
You're recognized.
Well, I don't know that I can give you a personal example of that, but I'm sure that this has happened numerous times where people have stopped their car on a highway or on a street looking for employment and soliciting people for a job in that regard. And this is saying, look, you can't use our streets to solicit for work. If you need to do that, go over into the parking lot, go into a private place of business and apply for that job or seek that employment. Just, you cannot do that and impede traffic and impede EMS and their response times on the road. It's not the appropriate place.
Representative Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if Ronnie Glenn's lawn service that has a truck and a trailer with a lawnmower on it, and I pull and I'm riding, I'm going to A, B, and C, and I see Representative Towns' yard 12 inches high. Because
I've heard about that.
Yeah, because he refused to get up and cut his own grass. I can't stop and ask him, hey, can I cut your grass? Is that what this bill is saying?
You're recognized.
If you pull into his personal property, you certainly can.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the problem with, I think, the pulling in the personal property is, I would say 99% of us don't want anybody just pulling in our yards, especially our driveways. And that to me is a problem. I don't know why stopping temporarily to seek to whether someone needs a grass cut, leaves removed, whatever that small task may be. The normal stopping time may be 5 minutes. I'm not sure why we would stop folks from seeking employment. I thought that's what we wanted people to do, to be employed. So why would we stop them from seeking employment?
You recognize.
Well, I don't think we're trying to stop anybody from seeking employment. The question is where? Are they doing it in the proper place, in a parking lot, in a private home? Or are they trying to do that on a road that's going to impede traffic and EMS? And to the point about not wanting someone to pull up in our driveway. I think the argument could also be made that people would say, I don't want anybody coming in my yard to knock on my door and ask for my business. I've been in all kinds of neighborhoods where there's signs that say no solicitation. I don't know how enforceable that is on private property. If I want the vacuum cleaner salesman to come to my door, who are you to say that he can't come to my door? Because it's private property. And that's what this is about. It's about not allowing our roads and our highways to be impeded for the purpose of employment. Do that at an appropriate place. Do that at a private residence. Do that at a parking lot. Do that at a place that is not impeding safety. And that's the reason why this bill is in front of this committee, because it deals with safety when it comes to our roads.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The answer of no soliciting, obviously, if someone has a sign that says no soliciting, the average person is not going to knock on the door. But I still think that if Ronnie's Lawn Service is driving down the road and sees Representative Towns' yard 14 inches high because it's now 2 days later,
That's right.
and he stops, to say that we're going to give him a Class C felony? Misdemeanor, regardless. The fact that someone who's seeking employment and may only occupy that road for 5 minutes long enough to cut that grass, I think I don't know, that makes absolutely no sense to me, but I won't be supporting your bill, but thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative McCallum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and sponsor. Just to clarify a concern from a colleague from Montgomery County, this isn't saying that Mr. Glenn's lawn service could not pull up to the curb in front of his house and get out of his car and go knock on the door. This is essentially saying he can't park in the middle of the street and then go knock on that door. Would that be a correct understanding of it?
You're recognized.
I don't think that's incorrect. I think the important thing is that they're not able to solicit business on a public street that impedes traffic. When you talk about the 5 minutes, well, that may be the very 5 minutes that the EMS is trying to get to my grandson who's had a health emergency. You just don't know that. If you want to conduct business, do it in a place of business at the private place of business. That's what we're trying to do here.
Follow up. Moving on, we have Chairman Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sort of wondering how my yard's looking back home now, but how does this differ from 55.8.160, stopping, standing, or parking prohibited in specific places?
This is about soliciting business. You're not allowed to park your car in the middle of a road right now. This is taking it one step further and saying that not only are you not allowed to impede traffic by parking your car, you're not able to do that while you're soliciting business. So it's enhancing that.
Thank you.
Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Previous question has been called. Any objection? Are we ready to vote? Please open the voting board, Madam Chair. Madam Clerk, sorry. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 14 ayes, 4 nays.
Ayes have it. Your bill goes to Calendar and Rules.
Thank you, Chairman. and Committee.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 7, 655 with Representative Hicks. Representative Hicks, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're working on an amendment for this bill. I wish to roll it 1 week.
Roll it 1 week.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Rolled 1 week. Very good. And let's see, you have item number 8. House Bill 864. I have a motion second. You like to talk about your bill?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In doing a lot of research and getting this bill as far as we did, first, I thank the committee. But in trying to move forward, there is so many folks involved in this, different departments involved in this. sometimes it seems like a simple issue. This is a very complicated issue that involves a whole lot of people. And, where I found myself is, it's hard for a lot of these departments to do anything about this. And it was going to put really all the responsibility on the folks that can't afford the insurance now anyway. So in moving forward, I want to be able to have a really good study of this and actually try to do something about this. There's a ton of folks from insurance companies to the Department of Revenue, to clerks, to car dealerships. Everybody wants to get involved and try to come up with a solution to this problem. We have well over 1 million people driving around without insurance, and that's an issue. So it's huge. So, but this year, I don't think is the year. So, Chairman, I thank you for working with me on this.
Thank you. You're very passionate about this, and it is an issue that needs to be addressed.
Sure.
And I appreciate you doing that. And we're committed, I think, as a committee to continuing to help you and work with you on this. But I'll recognize Chairman Hogg right now.
Thank you, Chairman Howell and Chairman Hicks. Great work on this. And as I've stated before, I've sponsored similar legislation before. Does it help the posture of the bill to go ahead and put the amendment on, or is it better to have studies with this piece of legislation without the amendment and just keep it clean and go forward? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think the amendment matters one way or the other. I think it's fine just the way it is. We'll take it and run with it.
Representative, I've chatted with the chairman of transportation in Senate. They're in a similar mind frame as we are, and they have put the bill in a posture that it can be heard next year.
Mm-hmm.
So would there be an objection from the committee or from the sponsor if we roll this to the first calendar, January 26th, to give you the summer that you need to work with all the parties and all the stakeholders involved to try to solve this issue?
I would truly appreciate it.
Okay. So moved, and second, roll to first calendar, January 26th.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you,
Committee.
Representative Hicks. Let's see, we're moving on. Representative Love, I see you. Let's skip to item number 10. We're going to reconsider our actions on this. I announced that it was off notice. That email was sent to my office in error. So we're going to reconsider our motions and put it back on notice. And Representative Love, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Chairman,
need a
committee
motion.
members.
Did I have a motion in a second? Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. There is an organization in Tennessee called Mechanics on a Mission, and their mission is to purchase or receive donated vehicles and to spend their time repairing those vehicles at no cost and then donate them to persons who are in transportation crises. And the issue is that because they're not a motor vehicle dealer, they don't have a license as a motor vehicle dealer and have issues titling the car once they purchase it to then the person they want to donate it to. They don't sell any of the vehicles, they donate all of them. And we are in the process trying to get better language and also working with some of the stakeholders. We've got language from the department, but I did want to, since he traveled so far, to let the gentleman who is the owner of Mechanics on a Mission to testify, to let you know what his business does. And then my hope is after that, Mr. Chairman, to then roll this to the first calendar of next year.
Okay.
Is that possible?
We do have an amendment. Do you want to put amendment on it and then roll it to the first calendar?
Yes, is that 004056?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second, and without objection, we'll vote on the amendment. All in favor of adding the amendment to the bill, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Amendment is on the bill, and your request is to roll it to the first calendar of next year.
After he testifies.
Okay, we will go out of session and welcome our guests to come to the table. We'll give you 3 minutes and appreciate you being here to talk about this bill. Please identify yourself for the
My name is
camera.
Brian Sweat. I'm the executive director of Mechanics on a Mission. And
Oh.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, and committee for allowing me to speak. Just wanted to bring some awareness of what Mechanics on a Mission does. We provide free cars and car repairs to military veterans, single parents, widows. That's our target audience. And we do this through partnering with local nonprofits and charities that refer people to us. Who know the situation, who've vetted the situation. It's just started our fourth year. In our third year, we were able to give away 60 vehicles. This year, we'd like to give away 100 vehicles. In fact, this Saturday, we'll be giving away to some military veterans some vehicles at the Preds game. And so we're super excited about that. But what we've run into is a couple different things: entitling vehicles and just the process of that. And then also being able to go to like auctions and be able to buy cars in bulk. So we can be able to do that. And of course, what every nonprofit has a challenge with, and that's funding. And so again, the biggest thing we want to do is just bring awareness to what we're doing. There's not many people working in the transportation space. There's this huge gap. And we just do this because we love people. We love our community. In 2010, we were the recipients. I was the head of school at Lighthouse Christian School and Preschool. And we were the recipient of the ABC Extreme Makeover. And so when people show up for you in your darkest moment, we want to show up for them. And we like to provide that life change. It's been absolutely life-changing gift to transportation. What's keeping us from scaling is just a few things. Like Representative Ford said, we're working with some of the different stakeholders and feel like we have a path forward, and are hoping that we'll be able to see this scale and grow even more. Our goal is to do 365 cars in a year.
One a day.
Yeah.
Amazing. Any questions for our guests? You're recognized. You're Chairman Hong.
And thank you to the gentleman speaking. We appreciate your kind-heartedness, and Representative Love wanted to make sure that we recognize that he's a Love, and he's not an automobile of Ford. So
I am so sorry. I am so sorry, Representative Love.
That's okay.
I'm around automobiles all day, every day.
And I understand, and I drive Fords myself, so I understand. Thank you. I think the mission is good. I think we've got some conversations conversations to have, and potentially we can take care of this to the motor vehicle division. There may be some things we can do internally on this as well. But thank you, and Leader Love, thank you very much for your work. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Towns.
Chairman, thank you again. A couple of questions for you. First is, where did the inspiration come from to do this deal for the public?
So, of course, I mentioned we were on the ABC's Extreme Makeover, and when people show up to you in your darkest moment, we want to show up for other people. But my son and our partner's son that helped us start this had a friend who was a senior at Lighthouse who got forced off the road on a rainy day, had been really sick and those types of things. So they came to us and said, hey, can we buy a car for our friend? And when your kids are 17 years old and they're thinking outside themselves, it's truly a victory. And so that was the first time that we gave a car away. We had started a ministry in which we just wanted to find needs in Middle Tennessee and meet them. Again, because so many people in Middle Tennessee have loved us and cared for us. Right. We just want to be able to pay that forward. And so out of that, and then quickly after that, some of the tornadoes hit Hopkinsville. And our co-founder in this was born and raised there. So we bought some vehicles there. As we looked around in our inner circle, we had Chad Custer and others from Nelson Mazda, Tire World, Christian Brothers. Some of those were our inner circle groups. And so we could do this at a greater and bigger level. When we started 3 years ago, we thought, hey, we'll do 10 or 12 vehicles a year. Like I said, last year we were able to do 60. This year we're able to do 100. It's kind of exploded on us. And without people working in that space, and it's almost impossible to be successful in Middle Tennessee without a vehicle. That's what we found. And so this is truly life-changing, and that's what inspired us. So it was a series of events and actions where God made it clear to us that this is what we're supposed to do.
Follow up?
Yeah, please. Well, thank you for the inspiration, and even more so following through. And a buzzword, scale up, is something I heard. Obviously, this is something that's really needed in a lot of areas, especially where people are living on such a low income. One little car repair, okay, not having the money to make that car repair can decimate your life. Yeah. Okay. And not just here, but our cities are sprawled, and you really need transportation to get there. As my background is corporate, and one of the number one reasons people lost their jobs is because they were not at work. Yeah. And then after that, on time. So it's really a good deal. Hoping that, we can see something like this spread around the state, because it's just a, as you said, godsend and a good endeavor to, embark on to try to help people keep their lives whole.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so-
we've already moved down in Chattanooga and
Okay.
started giving away cars there. And we really want to be an intermediary. We have a problem with the homeless
Right.
here. And a lot of that is
Everywhere.
because they don't have transportation. So
Right.
they can't pay their bills, keep a roof over their head, feed their kids, get their kids to school, doctor appointments. And we find we're able to give them a car. It's completely life-changing to them.
Well, good work. High kudos.
Thank you so much for being with us. Interesting story, and we appreciate the work you do. And thanks for coming to testify to the committee today.
Thank you, Chairman Howell.
We're going to go back into session. And again, Chairman, just to be clear, you would like to roll this to the first calendar of 2026. Any objection from the members? So ordered. First calendar of January 26.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
That brings us back to item number 9, House Bill 217 by Warner. And Representative Warner's been presenting in another committee, and he's with us now. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I appreciate your patience, sir. Members, I bring before you today House Bill 217 redesignates the Nashville International Airport as Trump International Airport, requires that B&A use funds appropriated by the state to facilitate such name change. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to consider a powerful initiative renaming B&A Nashville Airport in honor of Donald Trump. This proposal isn't just a name, it's about recognizing a true patriot in American history. Donald Trump is not merely a president, he is a spark for change. He has challenged the status quo, energized millions of Americans, and brought a new sense of patriotism to the forefront of this great country. By naming our airport after him, we honor a leader who put Americans first and championed the interests of hardworking citizens. Under Trump's administration, we have witnessed policies that prioritize deregulation, tax cuts, which have led to historic job growth and revitalized industries. By renaming B&A, we celebrate the ambitious spirit that defines Tennessee, aligning our state with the values of opportunity and prosperity that President Trump has advocated. Moreover, Trump's unwavering stance on issues such as border security and trade emphasized a commitment to America First policies. Folks, when we put America first, we put Tennessee first. In a world that often seems divided, this recognition would serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of strength and unity in leadership. In closing, renaming the B&A after Donald Trump is more than a tribute. It's a symbol of bold leadership that inspires us to forge ahead with confidence. Let us honor a president who has dared to think differently, and who, regardless of personal opinions, undeniably reshaped the fabric of our nation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and with that, I stand for questions.
I'm sure you'll have many. We have Chairman Hawk. You're recognized.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Representative Warner, thank you so much. I know you're a patriot, and you've just given us a great bio of another great patriot. I voted for President Trump 6 times, primaries, general elections. I think most folks on this committee have done that very thing, and we all support the work that he's doing. The funding issue, I always put on my fiscal hat, the financial aspect of this, and you're saying we're going to take the funds that we have historically sent to B&A over the years to pay for this, but those funds have been dedicated. And unfortunately, what this does would become an unfunded mandate. And unless the state of Tennessee is willing to put $10 million toward this, I don't see any way that we can possibly do this.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman Hawk. Currently, in this year's budget, the 24-25, the taxpayers across this great state, we've given B&A $23 million. It is projected in the 24 or 25-26 year for them to receive $34 million. this bill urges them to use that money that the state has already given them to rename that. I also might add, Chairman, that these numbers came from the airport authority. I'm not sure how accurate, it seems awful high to me to be, that physical note is that high on that bill. And I talked to the gentleman, I don't want to mess his name up, that does our physical notes, and he provided me the information that BNA had given him, and it seems to be rather expensive.
Chairman Hawk?
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Ward. The dollars that you discussed are obligated, and we took a field trip out there a few weeks ago and saw where that investment is going into the roads and infrastructure there, and how they're expanding and bringing more flights in order to bring more business into the state of Tennessee, create a new flight that's going to Dublin. We just had Irish Day on the Hill yesterday with St. Patrick's Day, and those dollars are being invested. So again, this becomes an unfunded mandate for what we would be asking them to do, even if it's $5. It becomes, it's $10 million is what they've told us, but even if it's $5, it becomes an unfunded mandate that the Finance Committee would have a trouble with. And I've got I don't have much sentimentality, and I don't know a whole lot, but I know some folks on this committee know more about the Berry family and the legacy of that gentleman, World War I hero who the airport is named after. And I'm a huge historian. I love history. I love understanding how we got to where we are now, and that's always a dangerous precedent as well. But thank you, Chairman. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Chairman Marsh, Speaker Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative Warner, I agree with you 100% on all the great things that President Trump has done and continues to do. But I'm not going to be able to vote for this bill because I don't believe that BNA is large enough for our President Trump. I think it should be Los Angeles or Chicago or Atlanta deserve that name better than BNA does. So I'm not going to be able to vote for it today.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your comments, Representative Marsh. If I may respond back to Chairman Hawk's comments there, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I agree. Barry, before I brought this bill, I asked 100 folks in my district. I said, before I decide to do this, I'm going to ask 100 folks if they know what BNA stands for. If 10 of them can tell me what BNA stands for, I won't bring the bill forward. I had two people. My mother was one, and another lady says the Berry stands for Megan Berry. I said, well, what a disgrace. Thought it stood for Megan Berry. But no, I'm like you. I hate to change history, but I thought this was a great way to honor our president. Again, when he puts America first, he puts Tennessee first. And it's my understanding that maybe and Representative Fritz, he's not on this committee, had made me aware that maybe most of the National Guard, if not all of that stuff that the National Guard has going on at BNA is now moving down to Smyrna. And I do stand to be corrected on that if I'm wrong.
Chairman Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the sponsor, while you was asking the 100 people, did you ask Donald Trump if he wants this airport named after him?
You recognize?
No, Chairman, I don't have a direct line to him. I don't know. Maybe I'll get one, but I don't have one at this time.
You follow up?
I've been a pilot for about 22 years, and if this committee was trying to decide if they're going to name the Monroe County Airport after me or a airport outside the state, I'd be pretty upset. I'd want the airport that I fly in and out of named after me. I think that, the West Palm or the Palm Beach International would be a better fit. And I just don't know that we should vote on a bill that we don't know if the Trump wants it named after him. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Vital.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
Mr. Chairman,
excuse me.
You recognize.
Can I?
Please go ahead.
May I respond to Chairman here? Chairman, to answer your question, I did reach out to Congressman Oble's office before I brought the bill forth and had them to speak with the Trump administration and asked them, was it okay? Did they have any problem? And they absolutely did not have any problem whatsoever.
Representative Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Sponsor. I appreciate your passion on this. And I think as Chairman Hawk said, we all appreciate what President Trump is doing. Conceptually, I would not have a problem if Palm Beach did this or Washington, D.C., although they'd have to take it away from Reagan, and I wouldn't support that. And looking at the investments that BNA is making out there, I think it's important the dollars the state of Tennessee are investing out there continue to be used to leverage the expansion. However, I do support in concept the support of naming it after Mr. Trump. I'd also support naming something after you, but I don't know how many votes I would get. So I don't know the future of this bill, but I do support BNA and what they're doing out there. And the fiscal note does greatly concern me, and we do need to figure out how that would be paid for and whether that would be a wise investment. I think Mr. Musk would be a good one to talk to because he'd probably say, don't spend the money. So.
Representative Bain. No? Okay. Next on the list is, before we go there, let me just, if I may have a personal privilege, while I like the sponsor, but I don't like his bill. And for two reasons. I'm like Chairman Hawk. I voted for our president 6 times. And I think he's doing an amazing job. We can talk about that at another time with people who disagree, but that's okay. This basically is an unfunded mandate, and I have always been opposed to unfunded mandates, always. And it's been tried on my district several times, and I've always opposed that. And I think to be true to myself, I have to oppose this. In order to honor one patriot, we'll have to dishonor another one. And when you look at Mr. Berry, what does it stand for? Berry Field, Nashville was the original name. Colonel Harry Berry was born in 1882, spent most of his life in the military, graduate of West Point, moved to the rank of colonel, awarded the Army Distinguished Service Medal in World War I. He was also came home and was Tennessee's administrator of the Works Progress Administration, WPA. Some of you heard of that? Where Berry Field became a hub for American and Eastern Airlines. Within the first year, 189,000 passengers traveled through the airport under his leadership. So for those reasons, while I like the sponsor, I can't support the bill and be true to myself. So I'll have to be a no. And back to the list. Vice Chairman Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Without objection, previous question has been called. Are we ready to vote? Please open the voting board. All those in favor vote yes. All those opposed vote no. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 5 ayes, 12 nays, 1 present not voting.
Okay, bill fails.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you very much, Mr. Chairman. Moving on, we've heard item number 10. And we have item number 11, Representative Alexander. We have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Chairman, and with your permission, I will just stay at my desk to
Please.
present. Okay.
I believe you have an amendment.
I do have an amendment, Amendment 4265.
Motion is second. Ready to vote on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. Ayes have it. Please explain your bill as amended.
Okay. Basically, what this was I had several constituents from my area who was concerned about riding their motorcycles and being ticketed for not having a helmet. And I've worked with safety and the chairman and my partner here, Mr. Russell Lowell, also concerning this because it's been an issue going on for about 5 years since I've been elected. And now I think we have it resolved because all that had to be done was to actually define what fully enclosed means. And it means having side panels, a roll bar, a roof, and a windshield. And those vehicles will be allowed to be on the roads without helmets.
All right, you've heard the explanation from the sponsor. Any questions? Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, please open the voting board. All in favor, vote yes. All opposed, vote no. Everyone voted. Please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes have it. Representative, your bill goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
We are now on item number 12, Representative Vital. We have a motion and a second. And we do have an amendment, don't we, Representative?
We do, Mr. Chairman, 4143.
That's what I have. Have a motion and a second on the amendment. We'll vote to put the amendment on the bill. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. Please explain the bill, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, I think that none of us can go around our district or the state without transportation issues being talked about. Obviously, the state continues to grow at a rapid pace, and we're trying to meet those needs. Also prioritizing the funding that we have within the state budget for roads and other programs across the state. The demands of infrastructure continue to be a major cost with materials continuing to rise at a rapid rate. We have continued to bootstrap our funding needs for bridges and roads across the state. This amendment requires TASER to look at the transportation infrastructure of our state moving forward. As transportation is a priority for our state, and with depleting revenues, we need to look at ways to generate more revenue, which will meet our critical long-term highway and bridge infrastructure needs. This study would look at alternative sources of funding to supplement the decreases in transportation infrastructure due to vehicles becoming more fuel efficient and due to inflation-related expenses in road construction. A deep dive is necessary on revenue sources such as car rental fees, retail delivery fees, highway impact fees, and sales tax collections on sales of vehicles, just to name a few. This study would then review these items and help to address an overall comprehensive infrastructure need assessment. TASER would conduct this study and prepare this report with recommendations to the General Assembly on transportation sustainable funding sources and deliver to the report to us by September 30th, 2026 for future General Assemblies to begin looking at a more comprehensive approach to funding. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Representative, and I truly appreciate the bill. And I think most members of this committee, if not all, appreciate it as well. Any questions for the sponsor? We ready to vote? Please open the voting board. Please cast your vote. All in favor say yes. All opposed, no. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes have it. Your bill goes to Finance. Thank you very much. Also, Representative Vital, item 13, House Bill 737. We have a motion and a second, and we have an amendment on that one as well.
Amendment 4925.
4925. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Let's vote on. One moment, please. Okay. Okay, let's put 4925 on the bill. Then we have a chairman's amendment, which I will talk about in a moment. All in favor of adding 4925 to the bill, please say yes. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The amendment is on the bill. And Representative Vital, a chairman's amendment 5455 is intended to correct a mistake and simply remove the word facsimile. And the reason for that, members, is because we previously, just a couple of weeks ago, passed a bill with Leader Lamberth that removed facsimile from all references in the Tennessee Code because it's outdated. And this would cause this bill to conflict with that, so I'm just removing facsimile from this bill. Any questions? Have a motion and a second on Amendment 5455. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The amendment's on the bill. Any further questions for the sponsor? Question has been called. All in favor, please open the voting board. Please cast your vote. All in favor, vote yes. All opposed, vote no. Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes have it. Your bill goes to Calendar and Rules, Representative Vital. And we have a House bill also, Representative Vital, House Bill 14, House Bill 790. You're recognized. Have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This bill was brought to me by constituents who are members of the National Guard. Former National Guard members cannot receive a symbol on their driver's license indicating prior military service because the DMV requires Form DD-214. Only the Air Force, Navy, Army, Coast Guard, and Space Force receive that documentation. This bill simply expands the DMV's ability to accept DGB 22 forms in addition to the DD-214. This allows honorably discharged National Guard veterans to receive this designation on their driver's license. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions for the sponsor? Question has been called without objection. We're voting on the bill. Please open the voting board. All in favor, vote yes. All opposed, vote no. Everyone cast their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote? Please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes, 0 nays, 1 present not voting.
The ayes have it. Your bill goes to Calendar and Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That brings us back to the heel of the calendar, and that's the bill that I'm carrying, and I'll pass the gavel to Vice Chairman Butler. Vice Chairman?
You are recognized, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Members, this is an administration bill, House Bill 127. It removes the rental cars from the bill. We don't want to tax them a third time. But the General Assembly passed the Improve Act in 2017. Among other things, the act allowed our 5 largest cities and the 12 largest counties to levy a local option surcharge on local privilege tax to fund highways and bridges in their area, and also mass transit is included in that. This bill just extends that authority statewide to all cities and counties. That's what it does. And the money can only be used for transportation improvement programs.
With that explanation, are there any questions?
I believe I have an amendment.
Motion amendment
5105 is the amendment.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to go ahead and add that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment added. Back on the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I just move passage. Representative Glenn?
Yeah, Representative Glenn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just out of curiosity, why was they not added to the original bill?
Mr. Chairman.
You're speaking of rental cars, Representative?
No, the additional counties that we're adding.
I can't speak to that because I believe it was passed before I came here, but there was a special option tax allowable for certain counties to help with their growth. They were growing so rapidly. They would include Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Tri-Cities, I believe, and the 11 largest counties, which would, of course, be Shelby. I can't name them all, but it was the Improve Act in 2015. I was here, but I didn't carry that bill, so I can't answer your question. I'm sorry.
Representative Towns? Okay. Representative Renew? You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do I understand this bill correctly to mean that it is a tax on a tax that the cities will be able to levy?
Mr. Chairman?
I don't believe so. What this bill does is allow locals to, for example, there are certain business taxes that if they have not reached the cap. Let me give you an example. There is a hotel motel tax. This body decided that it would be capped at 8%. In my district, Bradley County has a 5.5% hotel tax. The city has a 2.5% hotel motel tax. That brings it to 8%. They cannot put an additional tax because it's capped. If there are additional taxes in some areas, business taxes, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I think there's like 5 different taxes, fees, licenses, things like that, that if the voters decide, again, that's important to note that this will have to be a ballot initiative. It will be done by local control. And if they decide that they want to, a county that does not have the 8%, let's say there are 7% on the hotel motel tax, they can vote in a special option tax of 1 cent, 1%, and apply that to their local infrastructure or mass transit.
Representative Renew?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this. So, but it says here they can levy a surcharge on the local privilege tax. So, in the example of, let's say, the tourist accommodation tax, there's whatever taxes are levied or are already determined for the tourist accommodation tax. What would be the surcharge that they could levy on top of that tax?
To whatever,
Mr. Chairman, you're recognized.
it would be to whatever the cap is,
Representative Renew?
as in the example that I gave you.
Okay, I'm still not understanding it, but that's okay. But let me ask another question. This is for road improvement projects. Is there anything that requires them to fulfill any existing projects for the funds that are raised from this?
Mr. Chairman, you're recognized.
Not in this bill. It can be used. Every county, every city is different. They have different issues. It leaves the discretion up to them. And they would decide what they want to use it for. It could be mass transit. It could be a bridge. It could be widening of a street. It can also be a set aside and used as a matching fund for joint projects in partnership with TDOT. An example of that is something in my district in Cleveland. There's a major intersection that has become unsafe. It needs to be widened and redesigned. And the city stepped forward and said, we would like to do a 10% match. And TDOT says, we'll make that a priority. So this would give cities and counties the opportunity to do that. We're trying to find a way to lessen the burden on local governments to get the projects that they need done.
Representative Renew?
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? We'll be voting on the bill. Mr. Clerk, would you open the voting? All those in favor, vote yes. All those opposed, vote no. Mr. Clerk, would you take the vote? Or Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 ayes, 0 nays, 1 person not voting.
The calendar of finance. Mr. Chairman, your bill moves to finance.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vice Chairman. Appreciate that. Members, that brings us to the end of our calendar for today. And I believe, Chairman Hawk, will next week be your final calendar? You recognize.
Thank you, Chairman. We actually have what we've deemed our final calendar and transportation sub beginning in roughly 12 minutes. Potentially, we can work our way through our full calendar and transportation sub, which could be our last calendar in sub, which may translate to future plans for this committee to reach a last calendar.
Yes.
But we'll see how the next hour and 45 minutes goes.
We're doing good work. Appreciate everyone. And we do have one question from Representative Towns.
No more bills. I just want to make an announcement that no more bills, right?
Go right ahead.
Okay, look, Mr. Chairman, next week, we are going to possibly be minus this member that's been antagonizing me. He's going to go under the knife next week. And I've already talked, this is serious. He's going under the knife next week to have his little, well, they're not football knees, the little ballerina knees worked on because his knee's been bothering him. And so he's going to be absent. But now what I'm asking the members to do is he's going to be in a wheelchair too for a little bit because he's not going to be able to walk. So, but I'm asking the members, please, just please, don't kick him. No knee jokes. Leave all that to me. I will take care of it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Scout's son, I got him. Okay. But he's gonna be. Is it one knee or is it both knees? I think only one knee. Okay. I wish they would do both. Okay. But that would be next week. So if he's absent, and don't take it easy on him though. But I just want to know we wish you well.
I'm glad to see
Okay.
you and Representative Glenn have made up. I'm really glad to see that. Representative Rudd, Chairman Rudd.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to you and Chairman Hawk and Vice Chairman Butler. Even though it's not your last meeting, it's been a good session for transportation this year. Everything's gone well. And I also want to congratulate, I was watching a movie the other night, The Miracle Worker, and I want to congratulate Representative Vital because he pulled off another miracle. It seems like anytime anybody in this committee runs a bill wanting to put an initial on a driver's license, it costs me tens of thousands, but others get it not significant. So I want to congratulate you for pulling off a miracle with safety.
All right. I'm waiting for a motion.
Second.
We are adjourned.